Okay, what are we going to be talking about tonight? I really do not know, even though I got notes. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Marcus here again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. This is early Sunday morning, around 1:15 a.m. I haven't gone to bed yet. I've been thinking about you all day, thinking about love and thinking about change. And so I made a few notes here that's been on my mind. And one had reference to the fact that God made humans and he made them to be a physical God unto themselves. When I say physical God unto themselves, I'm saying that they're subservient only to the invisible God, in that they are alive due to the spirit that is God, that is in them, which makes them proportionately God. Just like my mother and me, we are one. I am of her. I am of my father, my daddy. And likewise, the human being is of that which is part of the design, and that is spirit. So God made each human to be a physical God unto themselves, subservient only to the invisible God. Here again, when we talk about the earth, we as human beings know that the earth exists because we own it, but we also know that we had nothing to do with it. So that gives a distinction. There's a separate power going somewhere. So the fact that God made human beings and that God, the Spirit of God is part of mankind, then human beings, my friend, are subservient only to the power which made a human being. In other words, I am not subservient to you, and you are not subservient to me. You were not made to be. You were made to honor God, to rely on God. Now, there in our organization or in our efforts to have a society, we have to work things out. We have to organize things out, and that's good. Do that as required to achieve successfully those things we can go after. But always make sure that whatever we decide, that they are guided by the Spirit of truth, by the Spirit of love, by the Spirit of compassion, by the Spirit of respect for the invisible power, and equally the respect for yourself in your respect for everyone else. And that will guide you down the path that will give you it'll put you in heaven if you're doing it. But we have to keep in mind what we doing when we do that. We're making God boss. And when we stand up for what God has shown us, we are revealing God to those who do not know God. And we need no other boss. But the difference in these types of operation is, while one might have a God, believe in God, want a God, and whatever God represents, another not necessarily, or just outright does not need a God, does not want a God, does not have a God. And they themselves do not practice the same moral principles that others might. You know, you operate as if there's a God. These guys don't operate as if there's a God. In fact, they act immorally. They don't have to worry about breaking the rules. They have none. lie, cheat, steal, hate, cause racism, bigotry. All of these kinds of things are the result of living immorally. And this is how they choose to live. If they say there's no God, they don't, nothing guiding them. There's nothing inside of them telling them be nice, telling them what's right. And if it is, they push that stuff aside. So what do you have now? You have moral and immoral. Moral challenged by immoral. And each, check this out, requiring of the same resources. The same resources of this earth, moral, all of you moral folks out there, require of them for survival. And all you immoral folks out there require them for survival. But now you moral folks know that this stuff is free. And so that it's designed to be used for what they are used for. So you go through the process of ascertaining them and doing, going through the process. But those guys who don't believe in God, that there is no God, they're not following that principle, that method. They're going out and saying they should take this stuff, get it, own it, and knowing that you need it, come up with some gimmick that they can profit from your need. And what we do today, they got a market set for where they selling it. You out there buying it. You ain't got no money, you can't buy it. So this is part of how they set their system up. And in a system like that, you have what we have today: poverty, crime, and violence. And then other times you have dictatorships. You might have communism. You got all these other kinds of things that happen as the consequence of stating there is no God above you. There's no God above human. There's no God above man. Now, that big test, when you, my friend, have sat there and said that you know God and you got these guys who would do anything to you and you need these resources, what do? If God doesn't come to your rescue, then this is your time to die. Now, a lot of folks think that's crazy, but think of it like this, ladies and gentlemen. They say the angels were corrupted through deception. So if you are in a marriage, you got to want to be there. If you want to be there, things can get rough and tough, but you want to be there, so you're not looking for anything to get out of there. All you're doing is trying to make sure that you always see ways to stay. So for those who know truth and know righteousness and stuff like that, you want it. But there are others who claim they want that too, but they're lying. They don't want it. They'll do anything. So you have to distinguish between the two. And one way of distinguishing is putting both in a situation where they both have access to the same resources and both require them, and but they go at them in different ways. And who's going to be? Who's going to be committed to their way, especially if your way happen to be that you everything that we think being on the earth and in the body and is about all that we think that this life is about. Now you find yourself in a challenge where in order to do that, in order to be about that, you got to forfeit what your spirit is telling you is righteous, what your spirit is telling you is true. And so you choose to say to hell with that and choose death. Now that tells me something else. That tells us a special kind of person. You actually separated yourself. You've actually separated yourself from those crooks. You've actually separated yourself from those liars. So it seems to me that it's a method, kind of tricky, to separate truth from jive. Now I'm not trying to get anybody to think like that, But as I give it thought, I do see these as two different kinds of certificates. One is for life and one is for death. The closer you are to God, the closer you are to truth, the closer you are to love, the closer you are to death. And the closer you are to death, for these reasons especially, the closer you are to life. Now, on the other hand, without God, the further you are from life and the closer you are to death. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your time. I'm going to see if I can go pull the stuff off. Maybe, just maybe, get a chance to get some shut eye. Until next time, Eddie Marcus, goodbye.